A very bright young man by the name of Dak. Apparently his website is overwritten.org, I believe. This is what he put on his Twitter video that he released on this. I want to give him credit for that because I'm about to show you the video. So Dak asked Andrew Yang a pretty important question about Julian Assange, which then, gets into a broader question about freedom of the press. So let's see how Yang handles it.
You might have a video.
Oh yeah. Do you support Julian Assange?
I think Julian Assange should stand trial. I am generally pro whistleblower and pro people that try and call out bad behaviors. But in that particular case, he did end up disclosing some information that really had no useful purpose except for potential damage to our infrastructure, like the undersea cables location and some other things. So I certainly would not be in favor of I think he should stand trial.
Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, Andrew. He says Assange should stand trial, and he says he disclosed information with no useful purpose. And understand, guys, this is quite literally establishment arguments used against Julian Assange, and they're not true. They're not true. Nobody has been hurt as a result of what Julian Assange did. Julian Assange released information that absolutely should be released because it's exposing wrongdoing of our government. That's your money and my money, U.S. taxpayer money, funding the government and them using those funds to do terrible things. That's what we learned as a result of Julian Assange. Now, you can have a nuanced Glenn Greenwald-like criticism of Julian Assange that, hey, you should curate a little more carefully when you release these documents. I think that's a totally fair criticism, that, you definitely should do curation and make sure you're not releasing anything that might be an issue, that something that should actually be classified or top secret. Don't release anything that should actually be classified or top secret. That's a legitimate conversation to have. But I do not think that Andrew Yang's criticism here is legitimate. He says he should stand trial. I totally disagree. He wouldn't get a fair trial. Same reason Edward Snowden's not coming back here. You think Edward Snowden doesn't want to be in the United States? Of course he does. Of course he wants to be in the United States. He's not here because he knows he's not allowed to use the public good as a defense. He's not allowed to say, hey, I released the information I released because the American people have a right to know it. And we should have a debate on it. We should have a debate on the Patriot Act. They're taking away our Fourth Amendment rights. I'm exposing to the American people that the government is taking away their Fourth Amendment rights. So the government is acting illegally and unconstitutionally. And they flip it on him and say, no, you're not allowed to use that as a defense. You did the right thing because the public should know these things. You're not allowed to use that as a defense. They use the Espionage Act against him. With Julian Assange, you think he's going to get a fair trial? I mean, this poor guy, he's locked up now, 23-hour lockdown. His health is failing. He's sedated often. He was recently in court. He didn't even know where he was. He didn't know what was going on because he's kept alone and isolated. And make no mistake about it, and we know because these are the charges that they're bringing him up on. They are going after him specifically because he released information given to us by the brave and amazing Chelsea Manning, who's also being persecuted at this point in time. We learned that U.S. soldiers killed civilians, circled back, and killed the first responders. And so we killed civilians and first responders, and as we were doing it, they were laughing about it. They were laughing about it. Now, all the people who committed the crimes didn't see a day in prison. Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange are, the government is raining holy hell on them because they dared to expose the crimes of the U.S. government. So, Andrew, that's why they're going after him. And any commentary that doesn't mention that is really bad commentary. And this is just a flat-out terrible take. Oh, he should stand trial. Oh, he did disclose information with no useful purpose. And listen, this is the thing that they do. They say this about Assange. They say this about every leak they don't like. They go, you're putting our people in danger. Really? Do you have any evidence of that? No. It's almost like that's a cop-out. It's almost like that's a dodge. And you're dodging because you know you have no out. There's nothing else you could say. So what do? I don't know. You're releasing stuff that you shouldn't be able to release because you're putting our people in danger. We're not going to give you evidence of that because it didn't happen, but I definitely want you to stop releasing because you're putting us in danger by releasing. Even though you're not putting us in danger, you're just exposing our crimes, but stop exposing our crimes because we don't like it. That's really what it comes down to. So no. I think he was asked, would you pardon him? And he said no, and he should stand trial. Remember, Tulsi Gabbard said that she would pardon, I think, Snowden, but it may have been Snowden and Assange. Tulsi's 100% right on this. And that is the reasonable reaction. That is the reasonable reaction. Anything else is, to one extent or another, falling for a dishonest, disingenuous line from the establishment, which is, totally flipping the truth on its head. Guys, the fact of the matter is, whatever you think of their politics, Chelsea Manning, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, they're all heroes. Because they quite literally are, risking their lives to expose the truth and let the American public know something that we absolutely should know, because the government is doing all these terrible things with our money and in our name.